How y'all doing? So, I employ about, along with my partners, a little over 700 people, and I think that Dr. Laura might refer to those, might call those jobs not high-quality jobs. Fair enough, we could debate that, but I know one thing is that we make some high-quality products, and I got a really great high-quality candy bar that they're going to distribute to you right now, right? Okay. Okay. And I'm going to tell you how we get people in a job that isn't a high-quality job to put out a high-quality product. But how many of you have, at some point, had a Zingerman experience? Quite a few. And how was that experience? Pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to tell you that there's a really good chance that that experience was provided to you by someone who quit or walked off their last 10 jobs, maybe just came out of jail after 10 years as a convicted felon. Okay, so, or they've suffered up and down through addiction and now they're in recovery. Those comprise a very, very large percentage of our employees. And so how do we get that to happen is something I'd like to talk to you about. First, though, I'd like to give you a quiz. With your permission, I'd like to ask all of you to close your eyes and with an outstretched arm, please point in the direction that you believe is north. Okay, so hold your arms up, open your eyes. We got a big problem, okay? We got to get to Vancouver Island tonight, and we got to know which way is north. So we could appoint a committee and have them go off and study the issue. We could take a vote, majority rules, or we could I don't know, try to come to a consensus decision. But lucky for you, because Vancouver Island's far away, I have a compass. And it's going to tell me if it's working. Is it working? So this is saying that magnetic north is about right in this direction. So some of you, who wants to argue with that? Some of you held your arms up pretty firmly, right? Okay, no, you're not gonna, that's ridiculous. You're not gonna argue it. It's a natural law. And we're gonna pay really close attention to natural laws because if we don't, we get in really, really big trouble. The point I'd like to make is that I believe in business, there's also some natural laws. If you want to stay in business over a long period of time, your customers have to perceive value in your product or service. If you want your employees to give great service to your customers, you, as leaders in the organization, have to give great service to your employees. If you want employees to be highly productive, you have to give them the tools and the training that they need. Those are all natural laws in business. There's many others, but you get the idea. One that I think is really, really very, very important is that if you want to have a successful business, a successful initiative, a product rollout, a new business, a new employee policy, you have to very, very clearly be able to describe what success looks like. You have to have a clear idea of this preferred future. In our organization, we call that a vision. In our organization, a vision is a written definition of success. If everything goes the way you want it to go at some point in the future, exactly what does that look like? We operate with a very, very long-range vision. It is a hopeful vision. It is inclusive. It is widely communicated. It is shared with everybody in the organization. We say that a good vision, it has to be inspiring. We heard earlier, people want to be inspired. Laszlo was saying we want to work for something greater than ourselves. There's a really big world of difference between one worker, if you go up to her and you ask her what she's doing and she says, I'm rough framing a wall. And you go to another who has the exact same job and you ask her what she's doing. She says, I'm building a home for someone in my community. That worker is part of an organization that has an idea of who they are. What social good are they delivering to the community? Where are they going? And what that person's role is in the organization. We believe that's very, very important. So When we first opened, there was my partner, Ari Weinsweig, and I, and we had 2 employees. And we had a very clear vision of what we wanted to do. I still have the initial vision that we wrote down on Sunday morning when I went over to his house, and I told him that I found the location where we could open up. And we sat down at a Smith Corona electric typewriter, and we typed out 3 or 4 pages, maybe 14 paragraphs. We said we were going to gather the finest artisan-made foods from around the world, and we were going to have this, smash it down in this busy, bustling specialty food store. We were going to have this sandwich shop, and we were going to serve sandwiches that were so big, it was going to take 2 hands to pick it up. And when you finally got it up to your mouth and bit into it, the Russian dressing was going to roll down your arms. And this was really very, very clear in our heads before we made our first sandwich. We also said that we didn't want an organization where decisions were made based on who had the most authority, but rather who had a good idea, who had a solution to an issue that we were dealing with, who had information and data that was relevant to the problem at hand. We wanted to push decision-making down as far as we could in the organization and invite everybody in and help run that business. And then we also said that we were going to gather this food and we were going to produce it and we were going to deliver it to people with a very, very high level of service. This was 1982 and nobody talked about customer service. If you went to the bookstore then, if you went to Barnes & Noble's and you looked for a book on customer service, in the business section, you wouldn't find it. You could get one, you'd have to special order it, and it would probably be an academic publication. Today you can go in there and you could find dozens and dozens of books on customer service. One is better than all the others. It's called Zingerman's Guide to Giving Great Service. And I recommend it to you. But I don't know about here in Mountain View, California, but in Ann Arbor, Michigan, nobody gets up in the morning and says, if I don't get a $14 sandwich, I'm going to kill myself. Or if I don't get a $9 loaf of bread, life isn't worth living. It just doesn't happen. And so we had to give people a reason, and that was they were going to be treated like royalty. We were going to wow them. We were going to service the hell out of them and have them believe that the only reason we got up in the morning was on the chance they would grace us with their patronage. And moreover, we were going to extend that service to our employees. Because I have no right to ever expect that someone that works for us is going to give a higher level of service to a guest than I'm willing to give to them. So how do we do that? So one of the ways we do that is that we are an open book organization. We practice open book management. What does that mean to you? Has anybody heard that term before? I'm going to ask a couple questions and none of them are rhetorical. Has anybody heard the term open book management? Okay. Somebody, what does it mean to you? Shout it out. Transparency. Share the numbers. Yeah. Most people, when you talk about open book management, they talk about the finances and sharing those numbers. That is a very big part of it. And certainly in our organization, every employee has the ability to know where every penny comes from and where every penny goes. But it's much bigger than that. Open book management means we hold everybody personally responsible for the success of the business. We invite everybody to come in and make the decisions to run the business, okay? Because in most organizations, and the financial information is certainly a big part of it. In most organizations, where's all the financial information? Hello? At the top, right? The accountant, the CFO. And who knows who's really dealing with the products? Who's on the floor? Who's dealing with customers? Who's producing the products? Okay, the people up here have all that information and they think the people down here are stupid and they don't care. And the people down here have all the real information on what's going on and they think the people up here are stupid and they don't care. And so we wanted a system where that information flows back and forth. So in every department, well, first of all, we have in every business, we have 8, 9 separate businesses. They're all separate legal entities, and they have managing partners. Every managing partner started as a frontline employee. We've grown our organization by providing the opportunity for ownership in the organization, by being entrepreneurial. And entrepreneurs do create lots of jobs. And the people that we create jobs for raise families, pay taxes, they're not on welfare, they send kids to school, and for the most part, they're pretty happy. Anyways, so we have an annual plan that's developed by the entire staff. And that's the plan. The plan is the plan, it doesn't change. Every department in each business has a whiteboard. And on that whiteboard is the profit and loss statement for that department. And every line item, cost of goods sold, sales, labor, out of stocks, on time, every item line on there is owned by an employee. So the dishwasher can own the sales line. The dishwasher reports it. He might have to go to the accountant to get the figure, but he reports on it, and he's responsible for meeting plan. He's the cheerleader that's going to lead a discussion in that meeting, 45 minutes to an hour every week, on are we beating plan? Great. How do we keep doing it? Are we off plan? What are we going to do to get back on plan? So that you have everybody from somebody on their first day to somebody that's managing the whole business is participating in this meeting. And that's how we engage everybody in running the business. So, and I want to tell you a real life story of how that works. Okay, because you're going to hear a lot of theoretical stuff. How many people here meet a payroll, are responsible for meeting the payroll? Okay, not many of you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, this is real shit, okay? This is how it really works. 2008, 2009. You guys remember what was going on? We thought it was over with. It was dark. And for our sales, it didn't trickle especially our producers, our wholesalers. It shut off overnight. And our bakehouse, which produces stone hearth oven breads and specialty cakes and wonderful pastries, they were hurting. For the first time in their history, they were in danger of not meeting payroll. Has anybody got any water? And so Amy and Frank, my partners, the managing partners of the bakehouse, they're having their huddle. Thank you. And they're saying to the staff, wow, this is really bad. For the first time in our history, we're not going to be meeting our numbers. We're thinking we might actually have to lay people off. It's never happened. Does this mean I have zero time? Really? You give me a couple minutes, because it's a really good story, and you're going to appreciate it. Okay. So they came together, and they go, what are we going to do? And that business, like here, there's a chef that makes a meal. Everybody that works a shift gets a meal, right? And the current chef had just quit, and they're going to hire another one. And they know exactly what that costs. They know what it costs to hire someone. They know the fully loaded cost of that, and they know how much it costs to feed everybody. And, they came back and they said, you know what? All we ever do is complain. No one's ever really happy. They're happy and they're unhappy. Why don't you just don't hire anybody? We got lots of bread and pastry. Put some cold cuts out there. Put some potato chips out there. We'll make our own food. We're going to cut out this amount of money. Great. What else are we going to do? A bunch of the managers huddled. They came back and they said, okay, we will cut our salary 5%. But we want you to accrue that. And when we get back to profitability, before there's any distributions, any gain sharing, we want that money back. What do you think would have happened if Amy and Frank walked in and said, we're cutting out your entitlement, your meal, and we're lowering your salary 5%? Would you think the happiness quotient would have gone up? No. But you know what? The happiness quotient went through the roof because they were empowered. They made their own. They knew exactly what the problem was. There was nothing hidden. They trusted us. They saw all the numbers. And they made their own decision to cut out things that were theirs that they had been getting in order to get the business back to profitability. You cannot get that if you don't have an open book. We have been successful over the last 32 years because we have a strategy that has sought to develop the human potential that surrounds us and not discard it. Thank you very much.